Welcome to this latest edition of the Ril Dil podcast. I'm your host, Cyril Gerald-Quinn, on this 10th of November 2020, the day before Veterans Day, and certainly want to give, a major shout out and acknowledgement of the military and who continues to protect us, um, protect our lives, our democracy, and just, you talk about the real heroes and MVPs around the world. They are that and then some. So just, and all the veterans, of course, the veterans who are still with us and ones who are no longer with us. I'm sure most people either have a veteran in their family or have a veteran in their family or know one that's close to them. So it goes without saying that we salute you as heroes now and forever, for that matter. So I just want to say that because I know we'll be doing a podcast, and next podcast won't be until after Veterans Day is over. But so definitely want to acknowledge that. Well, we have a new president elect. Of course, Joseph R. Biden Jr. is going to be the new president come January 20th. I think January 21st is the inauguration. As of right now, they're still counting. It's unbelievable. They're still counting votes. They're still counting votes. They're still counting votes in Georgia. They're still counting votes in North Carolina. They're still counting votes in Arizona, in Alaska as well. So it's remarkable how they're still counting votes. But Biden is going to be president. Biden's going to, just clearly won the race, even if he loses, say Arizona and North Carolina, which he's probably going to lose. I would say he's probably going to lose North Carolina. So, but probably more likely win Arizona. He'll probably lose Alaska as well. Either way, we have a new president. The big question is, are these the Senate runoffs that will determine the fate of the Senate? Remember, if it's tied at 50-50, Kamala Harris will be the tiebreaker as the vice president. So that is vitally important to the Democrats to control. They will have control of all three houses: the Senate, the presidency, and as well as the House. So we, certainly that a lot is riding on that. But getting back to this weekend, I was in DC because I work in DC this weekend on Saturday when the news broke that Biden had clinched Pennsylvania and was had been put had went past 270 electoral votes, and it was, to say, it was wild, to say the least. When I got out, when I got off of work around about 4 o'clock, the announcement came at about 12 p.m. or so, and you saw the honking horns, people riding around with signs. You saw just you saw it was a combination of a celebration and relief, to be honest with you. And I enjoyed watching other people be happy. It was great to see people happy, um, regardless of of who you voted for. What we witnessed with this election, in regards to to all the votes being counted, is the definition of democracy. You vote, that vote should count. Period. It's just all there is to it. And America showed up as a nation. I got it on here. You got 147 million votes here. 147 million votes. Think about that for a second. 147 million votes. Both Biden and Trump broke Obama's record for most votes all time. and they're gonna end up breaking it rather easily. The previous record, of course, was 69 million back in 2008 when Obama's first term. Trump is 71 million and counting. Biden is 76 million and counting. So America came out and voted, and the votes are still being counted. And they decided that they wanted Joe Biden to be the president, and it's really that simple. That's how simple of a process this should be. One man or one person, one vote. It's really that simple. Um, but it was great to see people just happy considering everything that has transpired in 2020. Unemployment, COVID, you know, a number, over 239,000 deaths. We're over 10 million cases now, and it's coming back, and it never left, but we're in a bad spot with COVID as of right now, with these cases, well over 100,000 cases a day. So to see people happy for at least one weekend, it was beautiful. Now, my mentality wasn't in a celebrity. I wasn't celebrating. I'm gonna tell you why. Um, I made it a point that I've told you on this podcast numerous times over the last couple of podcasts, who I was voting for. If I didn't make that clear, I would make it, even more clear. Now, voted for Biden, voted for the Harris Biden ticket, and I told you why. I've gone through a million reasons why I voted for the Biden Harris ticket, but I also explained that it was more about getting the other guy 45 out of the office than it was actually voting, actually pro Biden or pro Harris from that standpoint. And I explained that, did not want that feeling again come next election in 2022, 2024. Now, with that being said, that thought process did not allow me to be in a celebratory mood, to be honest with you. Now, did I enjoy the Twitter memes? Absolutely, 1,000%. The Twitter memes were fire. Because it's one thing to be on the wrong side if you're a bully, like Trump has been for the past 4 years. It is when you are on that other side of Twitter, of taking that L. Ooh, Twitter, Twitter and the internet is still undefeated, and they fired his ass up over the course and it's still firing him up, especially Saturday and Sunday. I just enjoyed I probably spent more time on Twitter than I had, you know, this entire year combined on Saturday, looking at some of those memes and just and people's reactions on both sides. Because again, 71 million people voted for systematic racism, voted for white supremacy. Let's not lose sight of that. 71 million people voted for that. So there is to say that the work is just beginning is an understatement. We as a country have a long, long way to go. And I'm telling you right now, you know, and this is how I personally feel. As a black man, I'm not waiting for the 55% of white women who voted for Trump to, I'm not waiting for that number to go down. I'm not. The people that fuck with Trump, those people are gone, as far as I'm concerned. They're gone. Like, if you condemn that shit, you condemn the systematic racism, if you condemn incompetence in leadership, if you condemn how COVID has been handled, then I really have nothing. We don't have any conversation in regards to politics, to be honest with you. It's just not a conversation. So to me, it's all about making, especially if you're African American, You put Joe Biden, you saved Joe Biden's ass twice throughout the course of this election process, campaign process. You saved it in South Carolina. People forget Bernie was, it was looking like Bernie was going to represent us, was going to be the Democratic representative come in November, not Joe Biden. South Carolina primary saved him. You save his ass again in this election. Philadelphia, Atlanta, Detroit, Milwaukee, Georgia. Well, I said Atlanta. Okay. So it's time for payoff. It's time to get some bang for that voting buck. And I'm telling you right now, it begins right now. It begins right now in regards to um, policies, in regards to holding Joe Biden and Kamala Harris feet to the fire. Get out that celebration mode. The celebration is over. It's over. It should be over. You should have got that out, got that out your system Saturday and Sunday. Okay. It's time to do the work. And however that is, that's if you're a teacher, if you're somebody who follows local government and local elections, if you're somebody who is has an interest in a number of different Black parties, as far as our independent independent parties that could possibly be drummed up come 2022, 2024, then so be it. But get involved in something that pushes the needle and that holds the Democrats accountable. Because waiting for politicians to do for you has not worked out ever. It rarely has worked out waiting for someone to do for you. We have to push the needle, force the envelope, and demand what is ours in terms of getting payout for that vote or for those votes. 80% of Black men came out for Joe Biden. 92% of Black women came out for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Don't make the same mistake we made when Obama got in office in 2008. Don't make that mistake. Because I don't want to hear anybody discussing 4 years from now or 2 years from now, oh, this is not even, I want everybody complaining 2 to 4 years from now. You have the ultimate leverage. You can vote him out. Kamala wants to be president one day, soon enough. You have the ultimate leverage. Use your leverage. Use your voice. Because, and I explained this on the last podcast, Donald Trump may be going out of office. The ideal of Donald Trump is stronger than ever. He got more votes in this election than he got in 2016 when he won. Think about that. Think about that. These groups, these militias, these Proud Boys, QAnon, they're not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. So there's a lot of work to be done. It will feel good though to have someone in leadership who, at worst, whether you agree, disagree, is competent. Is competent. Like I look at Joe Biden and I can say that guy is a president. He's a president. He's worthy of the position, experience, common sense. Been in the White House, been spent 8 years in the White House. He understands the position. For 4 years, we didn't have anywhere close to that. 4 years. We had a reality show for 4 years. So it's gonna be a very interesting time in our country. And by the way, I like how Joe Biden has handled these ridiculous claims of a rigged election and these lawsuits that will fall by the wayside. And listen, you understand who Donald Trump is. You knew this was going to be the case. Just move forward. Yeah, Joe Biden. I wouldn't even. He's already and he's already started the COVID. Has a COVID panel. Knows that he needs to get that under control so the economy can get back in. The economy could get back up. Getting a vaccine in order and things of that nature. So I'm not. If I'm Biden, I'm not even. And I know he mentioned today that it was an embarrassment, and that's as far as he should go in regards to discussing Donald Trump's actions. This is who he is. This is who he has been. This is who he always will be. So I wouldn't even. To me, you lost. It's over. Your day. Your term is over. We're moving forward, and we're going to go back to at least uh, stabilizing this country. I heard someone on it was on Twitter or on Instagram, young lady. I think she was in Philadelphia. I want to say Philadelphia, New York City, and she made just a brilliant commentary. And people were talking about coming up to her or saying to her, at least now we can go back to normal. And she basically said, "Well, what's normal? What do you mean? What's normal? Black and brown people getting shot by the cops, systematic racism, like that. Is that your version of normal?" And I'm not doing her any justice by paraphrasing what she said, but she's basically saying, and it's similar to the point I'm making made at the top. We can't be satisfied with status quo or the way it was. Can't be like even before Trump got in office. Cannot be satisfied with that. You can't be okay. Everything is good now. Trump is out. No. There's no going back. There should be no going back. So whoever that young lady was made a tremendous, she made great points on not being satisfied just because we got the bully out of office. Today's headlines for the Real Deal headlines: you have the NCAA postponing a couple of college football games in the SEC, Alabama, LSU, which doesn't have the same ring to it because LSU, of course, is not nowhere near being a vintage LSU team. Tennessee, Texas A&M have been postponed. They're not sure whether or not those games are going to get made up. And also, you had four Steelers go on the COVID list, including quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger does not have COVID, but he and there were three Steelers. It basically goes like this. There's one player who has it, and three others who were in close contact. So taking precautions, having players go on the COVID list who were anywhere near that particular player or in close contact with that player. Roethlisberger is expected to play on Sunday though, so we'll see about that. We'll see how that goes. It's gotten to a point with COVID and with sports where I'm kind of back where I was, say in July and August, June, July, August, saying with the mindset of why are we playing? Why are we playing? And that's obviously it's an easy answer to that question. We understand the financial ramifications if there's no football, if there's no sports. But it's gotten to a point where these cases keep going up that COVID could decide. You're gonna see a lot of these cases. You're gonna see a lot of these postponements, and you already had the NFL approve the 16 team playoff just in case they have to push a game. They have to play. They have to stretch the season out to say week 18. You already see that got approved today. So it is. It's gotten to a point to where these guys, they probably shouldn't be playing. Probably shouldn't be playing sports. To be honest with you. I know we were talking about the NBA the last couple of weeks. It's not going to matter in regards to where the players want to play, or when the players sign off to play on Christmas or not, if they are not protected. And right now, if you're the NBA, you got to be concerned about, because you can't do the Orlando bubble. You got to be concerned about travel. You got to be concerned about how the bubble is going to look in December and moving forward. Um, I got a feeling that the NBA is they're probably going to push the NBA back. And I think they're not going to want to. They're not going to. Of course, that's not ideal for them. But I think they're going to push the NBA back. To be honest with you, the way these cases keep going up, and you keep seeing, especially if football gets postponed with NCAA and the NFL, then I think the NBA will do the smart thing, because the NBA more times than not always does the smart thing, as in comparison to these other leagues, and will look out for the better, for the safety of the players, despite the fact that they could lose anywhere from $500 to $1 billion if they push the season back to a January start. But right now, the cases are out of control right now. I mean, you got cases just are popping up all over the place, in all sports. In both football, and of course in both the NCAA, of course, and with the NFL, and even college basketball, you had Tom Izzo got diagnosed with COVID this week. So it's gotten to that point to where you just ask yourself, why are they playing? Celtic legend Tommy Heinsohn passed away at the age of 86. He is a whole Celtic legend, 8-time champion as a player, 2-time champion as a coach, and really had one of the most remarkable careers that you can possibly have. You're talking about a guy who was a 6-time All-Star, Hall of Famer as a player, Hall of Famer as a coach, and if I'm not mistaken, a Hall of Famer as a broadcaster. He did a number of those games. Of course, he was a long-time Celtic broadcaster for their, locally, but did a number of NBA Finals and playoff games, and especially when the Celtic-Laker rivalry was at its pinnacle in the '80s with Magic and Bird, and used to do those games with Dick Stockton, that legendary crew. He, he was he was the biggest homer that you can find, but you could tolerate him because he was that entertaining. Like you listen to those Celtics games. You would watch the league pass and hear him on those Celtic games, and you just couldn't help but, you couldn't help but to laugh or be entertained by him during those games. And I'll say this, I watched a lot of those older games, especially during COVID in the summertime. He was fair during those games in the NBA Finals with the Celtics and Lakers, or the Celtics were playing another team, Celtics Rockets, especially the Celtics and Lakers. He was fair. I'll be honest, he would call it the way he see it. He would call it the way he see it, despite being, bleeding Celtic green. Again, one of the more remarkable careers that you'll ever see from any NBA figure. Like, there have been guys that have won championships as players and as coaches, but not been Hall of Fame broadcasters on top of it. You saw, or not been all time. Like he was a great player. Again, won 2 championships as a coach. How many times have we seen great players be either horrible coaches or terrible in broadcasting? I mean, I guess the closest thing to him in regards to being successful at all 3 layers, probably Pat Riley. I would say Pat Riley. Pat Riley was an okay player, but of course he was a great coach, great general manager, of course, president, built the Heat, and also when he was in the studio, when he was with NBC for that year, I think he was with NBC for like 2 years, either a year. I think he was with NBC for 2 years. He was tremendous during that time. So I think Pat Riley might be the closest from that standpoint. Jerry West was never a broadcaster. We know he was an all-time great player, and of course one of the great GMs, presidents of all time in the history of sports, but not that didn't translate to broadcasting. So Tommy Heinsohn was a guy who really, was elite at all three levels, was a part of all 17 Celtic championships, either as a coach, player, or broadcaster. So certainly, your thoughts, even as a Laker fan, your thoughts have to be with the Celtic family, losing that legend, 86 at the age of 86. Week 9 NFL action. You had a number of close games, but the statement game, maybe not only Week 9, but maybe the statement game of the season had to be what New Orleans did to Tampa Bay in Tampa, 38-3. This was a woodshed special. This was New Orleans telling Tampa, "This is our division. You're not ready yet. You may not even be a Super Bowl contender as far as we're concerned." They put their foot in Tampa's ass. And, look at Brady against New Orleans. He, has been terrible. 5 interceptions against Tampa this season. Drew Brees was, brilliant. At one point, he was like 11 for 12 and basically played a perfect game with the 4 touchdown passes. And again, this game was over after the first quarter, and Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth had the field material in early. Had to go to the field material because it was that dominating of a performance by New Orleans. Last week I had New Orleans. I didn't have New Orleans as a Super Bowl contender. I certainly had to revamp that after that performance this week. They, without question, are a legitimate Super Bowl contender, especially the way they played defensively. They got there. They're getting healthy. Michael Thomas is back. Alvin Kamara is arguably the best back in football. Even though I like Dalvin Cook, but you can certainly make a case for Kamara being the best back in football. And Drew Brees over the last 4 to 5 games has played like the Hall of Fame quarterback that he is. So right now, New Orleans is clicking on all cylinders. And I don't know, I don't want to go overboard about this game in regards to Tampa Bay and how I feel about them. I think that defense is still very good. Brady, hasn't played well against Tampa. He's played well against everybody else except Tampa. Just hasn't played well against New Orleans. But you like to see teams show up in these statement games, and at home, definitely not a good sign when you get smoked at home by your division rival, by a team that you're going to have to go through in order to get to the Super Bowl. So, great performance by New Orleans, and they again really showed Tampa who's boss in that in the AFC South. Excellent performance by Buffalo, 44-34. You see Josh Allen outplaying Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has cooled off dramatically over the last 2 or 3 weeks. He's throwing a lot of picks. I think he might have like 10 for the season. And that MVP talk is has begun to calm down as well as it should have. Again, don't get fooled by how close this game was at the end. Seattle made a little late run in the fourth quarter, but this game was decided. This game was decided basically in the first half. Buffalo really knocked Wilson around with the 5 sacks, picked him off a couple of times. And again, this is without question to me, considering the opponent, probably Buffalo's best performance of the season. Listen, we've been saying this about Seattle all year long. That defense is dreadful. I mean, that defense, out of all the playoff teams, they by far have the worst defense. When you look at in both conferences, look at all the playoff teams in both conferences, they by far have the worst defense. Now, maybe Green Bay, and even it's probably worse than Green Bay's. Yeah, it's probably worse than it's. At least Green Bay has some quality cornerbacks. Yeah, no, it's probably neck and neck with Green Bay's. Those are probably the two worst defenses in terms of playoff teams. But their defense is dreadful. There's no way that they're contending for a Super Bowl with that defense. It's just not going to happen. You allow Buffalo to put 44 points on you. Buffalo's a good offensive team. Buffalo's not a great offensive team. There's no way Buffalo should put 44 points on a playoff caliber team or a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. So they have to do something about that defense and fast. Pittsburgh remains the only undefeated team in the league. They go to 8-0 with a lackluster performance against Dallas, a game where listen, give Dallas credit. They fought. They played relatively well. Played as well as they played in weeks. Uh, you know, Pittsburgh coming off the game. Remember Pittsburgh's coming off two emotional games. Tennessee on the road and Baltimore on the road back to back. So they were kind of due for this type of performance. They did enough just to get by. Again, don't get me started on the going for two shit. I've just had my fill of it. Again, Pittsburgh. I know they missed an extra point in the first half, but still, even with the game at like 13-10 or at scoring 13, if they kick the extra point after that, they should have been in a position where they should have been on their last touchdown where they should have been up 26-19 instead of going for two at 24-19. So again, these teams, for whatever reason, are just clamoring to go for the 2 point conversion when they don't have to. It's remarkable. It is remarkable. I'm telling you right now, a team is going to lose a playoff game chasing points. It's going to happen this year. I promise you. Somebody's going to go for two, chase points early when they don't have to, and it's going to cost them a playoff game. These teams are just out of control with this shit in regards to going for two. It just makes no sense. Like, don't go for two until you have to, which should be the fourth quarter. Like, it's just to me, it's very simple. I don't get it, but teams continuously, just um, you know, uh, just keep just throw dirt on themselves, kicking themselves, just become and their own worst enemies with these chasing points. But Pittsburgh, in regards to that, survives, and now the schedule will start to soften up a little bit to where they can be staring at 10-0 before that Thanksgiving showdown with where they will host the Baltimore Ravens on Thanksgiving night. Very entertaining game with Miami and Arizona. Two you saw the future in regards to quarterbacking with these two players. Miami edges out Arizona 34-31. I told you not to overreact to Tiger Beluva's first performance. I told you, don't overreact. He came out there, played great, made every play that he had to make, had 35 yards rushing. And again, all the guy does is win. That's all he does is win. Won at Alabama. He's 2-0 as a starter with Miami. Miami's right in the thick of the AFC East race along with Buffalo. Um, Kyler Murray was great as well. So I'm a big Kyler Murray fan. I'm a big fan of him, and I wasn't high on him at Oklahoma, but he's been great so far in his short career in the NFL. And just all they have to do is keep building, getting pieces around him, and they're going to be contending for a playoff spot. So exciting game. Um, Miami had a key stop on Arizona on two short yardage plays, a 31 and 4-for-1, that really shifted the game in their favor. But again, the story of this game was Tiger Beluva's performance. Again, I will one day get his name right, but he was tremendous. Kansas City gets by Carolina 33-31. Thought Carolina played well. Kansas City, of course, will just finds ways to win these types of games. Mahomes right now, if I had an MVP vote, we are halfway through the season, more than halfway through the season. Mahomes is the MVP. 25 touchdowns, just one interception. It has been, that's taken it to another level the past few weeks. He's been great. He would be my MVP this year. And again, I'm sorry. I apologize to the Chargers fans. You're saying, hey, why are you talking about us when we have a losing record? When we keep losing these games, the Chargers, oh man, I just can't. I really feel sorry for the Charger fans. I really do. Chargers fall again in another close game, 31-26 to the Vegas Raiders. So the Chargers get the ball back. They go down the field and they're at like the Raiders probably two or 3 yard line. Um, Herbert throws a perfect pass to Mike Williams. Mike Williams, who excellent receiver, was great in college. Seemingly catches the ball, has both feet in, and hits the ground. The ball comes loose. They have 1 second left, one play left. He throws another pass, throws a pass to a backup tight end, basically in the same part of the end zone. It looked, at full speed, like okay, looked like he caught it. Looked like he caught it. Of course, his both feet were definitely in. And then you see the replay, and the ball pops out at the last second, and the Chargers lose once again. Um, it is it just it is. I mean, it's like Groundhog Day every week with the Chargers. They just find ways to lose these games. Every loss they've had have been by a touchdown or less this season. They have a number of 1 point losses, a couple of overtime losses, and the thing about it is they're getting quarterback play from a rookie that I mean I you know this guy is playing at a level as for a rookie that is rare. I mean, Justin Herbert has 17 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and has played great the last three, really in particular the last 4 weeks. He's been great. Um, he had one win to show for it. They have one win to show for it. So I don't think Anthony Lynn's going to survive this season. It's gotten to a point where they seemingly expect to lose, and um, we know that team has talent. Bosa's out right now, which certainly hurts. But even when he was in, even when he was even when he was healthy, they still were finding ways to lose. So the Chargers do what the Chargers do. But again, I'm telling you right now, I would not want to play this team if you're contending for a playoff spot down the stretch. They do play hard. They play hard, and they are very dangerous with that quarterback. 'Cause that quarterback has played great through has played great this season, and it's going to be a very interesting race in regards to the rookie, in regards to the rookie of the year. So um, we'll see what happens with that team in regards to their future. I don't see Anthony Lynn surviving the season. So you look at the NFL, not much has changed for me as far as our Super Bowl contenders. I forgot to mention Baltimore over Indianapolis 24-10. Again, a lot of people were saying it's not impressive, wasn't that impressive of a performance offensively because Baltimore, only was able to gather or to gain 266 yards. You go on the road against that Indianapolis team and win 24-10. That's an impressive performance. Now, if you want to think big picture as far as Baltimore, yes, the offense is not where it needs to be, but Indianapolis is a good football team, and they have a legit top five, top three defense. That's a big time defense. So I'm not criticizing the team for winning by 2 touchdowns on the road against a team that has a playoff caliber team. That's just not fair. But we know Baltimore has some issues offensively, issues that they're going to have to get fixed if they want to get out of the AFC. The AFC is brutal. The AFC, especially at the top, we know Pittsburgh, Kansas City are teams that are going to be right there and are going to be in the way of the Baltimore Ravens. So, but I'm not criticizing them for winning their game by 2 touchdowns against a playoff caliber team like Indianapolis. But as far as the Super Bowl contenders, not much has changed. It still comes the AFC to me still comes down to Kansas City and Pittsburgh in that order. Regards to NFC, NFC is a bunch of teams up top, whether it be New Orleans. I'm still not done with Tampa, but they take a step back. And they took a step back this week, but still, I don't think they're done. But you have New Orleans, you have you have Green Bay, uh, Seattle still going to be talked about. But right now, you know, in the AFC, to me, if New Orleans can keep their weapons healthy, they look to be the class of the NFC, but not by a large margin. I mean, again, a lot of most. There's not a big difference between, say, the New Orleans, the Seattle's, the Green Bay's, the those teams, those particular teams. The Rams are in that mix. Not a big difference between those teams at all. One team to watch out for, and I know they've been terrible. No, they've been terrible throughout the first part of the season, but they're playing. They've won two impressive games in a row. The Minnesota Vikings. Watch out for the Vikings as far as making a run, possibly compete for a wild card and possibly even challenging for that division. I know Green Bay, they're 3 games behind Green Bay, but I feel like Green Bay is going to come back down to earth. But Minnesota's playing great right now. They got the running. They got Dalvin Cook would be first team All Pro right now at the running back position if that vote were taken. Starting to play better defensively. So that is a team to kind of keep your eye on as a team that's picking up some steam the last couple of weeks. So of course Saturday you had Dave Chappelle bringing in the post-election show once again. We saw this 4 years ago when Trump won, so they brought him back, brought it back after a Trump defeat. And listen, we know where Saturday Night Live is as in regards to the show. Saturday Night Live is awful. It's been awful for the past 20 years or so. The only reason I ever even watch Saturday Night Live at this point is to see Eddie Murphy or Dave Chappelle. It's the only reason I watch the show. Those are the last two Saturday Night Live shows I watched in the past, however many so years. Eddie Murphy in December, Dave Chappelle this past Saturday. So Chappelle, delivered a 16-minute, 36-minute, 36-second monologue at the beginning of the show. Dropped a lot of jewels in that monologue. He is, and we kind of talked about this a little bit last week when I mentioned this when we talked about his special with not special, but his appearance on David Letterman's show on his David Letterman's interview show. But he is transitioning into something else. He's morphing into something else that is beyond comedy. Now, again, I rewatched it, the his monologue again, and yeah, I laughed a couple times, but it was more about just those jewels that he was dropping in regards to America, in regards to a few other things. You can watch it on your own if you want more specifics and more details. But it's going to be interesting to see, can people handle him not being laugh out loud funny? Because I'm not going to say he's done with stand up, because I think once a stand up comedian, always a stand up comedian. He'll do shows. He'll tour once we get once COVID gets kind of handled or under control. You'll see him do shows and things of that nature. He's doing shows already in his backyard of Yellow Springs, Ohio. But he's the Dave Chappelle that you saw maybe last year or 2 years ago. That the sticks and stones Dave Chappelle might be gone. That Dave Chappelle might be done. And again, I don't know. A lot of people might not be ready to handle Dave Chappelle just giving life lessons, and Dave Chappelle just the speaker versus Dave Chappelle the comedian. Again, I think Dave Chappelle's at a level I can listen to Dave Chappelle talk about things that are about life. I really for however long. hour, 2 hours. I just think he's just he's want to say just brilliant. He's just brilliant. He's one of the all-time great communicators and one of the best communicators that we have in this country right now. But for those of you who are not ready for him to morph into that, it might not be for you. It might not. It just might not be your cup of tea right now because he's going in that direction. He might be. He's probably already there. He's probably already there to where he's morphing into just being a communicator versus a just laugh out loud comedian. So it will be very interesting to see the reception moving forward as he transitions into just being a direct and straightforward communicator. He said something interesting too. I'm going to pull it up. He said, "I can't even tell something true unless there's a punchline behind it." Think about that. I can't even tell something true unless there's a punchline behind it. So, in other words, he's using a punchline to keep your attention. But it's getting to a point to where I'm telling you, it's getting to a point to where he, those punchlines are going to be few and far between. I'm telling you, he's headed in that direction, and I'm gonna be curious to watch what the reception is on it. And of course, rest in peace to Alex Trebek, passed away at the age of 80, pancreatic cancer. One of the symbolic all-time talk television show hosts, not just game, but in any form of hosting, to be honest with you. In particular game shows. You're talking about a guy who 36 years, think about that, 36 years was basically an institution of game show host. Jeopardy was a show is a show that to me, that brought families together. I used, me and my mother didn't used to watch a lot of shows together. We had clearly different tastes in television. Jeopardy was the one show that we would watch and will continue to watch together. As a show that had that perfect balance of knowledge and entertainment. It is a very rare balance of knowledge and entertainment. I'll be honest with you. I have a number of books that are great reads. I get totally engaged with them, informative. They don't entertain me. I'll be honest with you. They don't entertain me. Now, I'll read them, I'll recommend them. Knowledge of it, the knowledge is invaluable, but I'm not exactly entertained by a great book. Jeopardy, again, you're trying to, you're competing against the guests, you're competing against the contestants who are on there. Because what happens is you say to yourself, I could be on Jeopardy. I could do that. I could be on Jeopardy. You don't have to, it's not like watching a sport where you can't dunk a basketball, or you can't take a hit from a 290-pound defensive end. But Jeopardy is like, yeah, well, study a little bit, do some research. I can be there. I could do that. I could be on there. So again, just a legendary landmark show. Trebek had been around forever. Even before he was doing Jeopardy, he was doing game shows, and really, really bounced around before he got on Jeopardy. Battlestar, and a couple of other shows some other Canadian shows that he was on. So, paid his dues before he, just, hit the jackpot in regards to finding that perfect fit. And that fit lasted again for 36 years. Rest in peace to the great Alex Trebek. And by the way, they're gonna be doing shows. The last show he recorded a bunch of shows that will run through the holiday season. The last show will be on Christmas Day. So definitely will be tuned into that show. His last tape show, Christmas Day of this year. That is going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Ril Dil podcast. Again, appreciate all your support. Having a ball with Robert Sapp in terms of doing The Wire. We are more than halfway through the season. Had a great episode, Homecoming, this past Sunday. So check it out. There were a number of powerful scenes in that episode. Avon and Stringer and Omar and Bunk. So check that out. We'll be back this weekend with another episode, God willing. And subscribe to my podcast on my YouTube channel, www.youtube.com, Ril Dil Podcast. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your Veterans Day. I'm out.